There are 5 big mistakes youth baseball players make, and if these 5 mistakes are left unsolved, these mistakes could really hold you and your son back. So in this video, I'm going to explain those 5 big mistakes, but I'm also going to explain how to fix them. And the last mistake seems like the number one thing I must teach young hitters, and it's something you do not want to miss. So stay until the end so you can know what that big mistake is and how to fix it. And throughout this video and the following videos, I'll be using the hitter's cheat sheet, which is what I use when I'm helping my online clients and my in-person clients. And if you continue watching, I'll give you this for free so you can help your son or your students. This is one of the best things for coaches and for parents so that you can log what you're doing so you can steadily get better. So continue watching so I can tell you where you can get that for free. So the first big mistake that I believe is huge is losing the barrel. And I mentioned it briefly in my last video, which talks about how to hit a baseball. And if you haven't seen that video, a link will go off above me and it will be in the description below. But losing the barrel is something that I see from a lot of young hitters. And what I mean is they have no idea where their barrel is when they swing. To be more specific, they lose it in this area. This makes them very inconsistent. I mean, very, very inconsistent. The reason this happens is because their top hand isn't active in starting to swing. For example, if we look at Fernando Tatis Jr., we see that the top hand controls the barrel and gets the hitter on plane. And as a viewer, we can see that he knows where the barrel is at all times and is taking the barrel to the baseball. This is what the top hand does, and it's an important part of the swing and a big issue, I mean very big issue with a lot of young players today. And here are a few things I've seen that create a player to lose their barrel. The first one is something you may hear every day at a youth baseball game. It's keeping your elbow up. You see a lot of young hitters with their elbow super high. It almost looks uncomfortable. And when they are in this position and start their swing, what do you think happens to the barrel? They dump it, or in other words, they lose it. And this makes it very hard for them to be consistent. When people yell, "Get your elbow up," they mean well, but a better way of explaining it is getting your hands higher. That way they can still be in a comfortable position. Another thing I've seen that forces young hitters to lose their barrel is how they grip the bat. They do the dreaded box grip. It's pretty similar to keeping your elbow up, as it would create that stiff, unathletic, uncomfortable look. I prefer using the knuckles lined up because it will immediately get you loose in your hands so you can be quick to the ball. We want to strike like a cobra, and having our knuckles lined up will keep us loose in our hands and even looser in our upper body. The second big mistake I see with a lot of young players is that they swing down on the ball. Now, wait. I know this can be a bit controversial because a lot of coaches teach that, but what happens is that the players take it literally. And I know they do because I see it. And when I was playing and worked out with Barry Bonds, he told me the same thing. He said, "Jermaine, swing down on the ball." And when he told me that, I was like, I found the secret. I'm about to start dropping bombs, right? But what happened next was that I would pop balls up that were away from me and pound sinkers into the ground. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I just don't believe it's the right way to teach younger hitters. If I wasn't on time, it was hard for me to square the baseball up. And if I had any movement in my lower half, I was absolutely done. What I have learned over the years is that what he was saying was use your top hand, because in order to swing down, your top hand has to be dominant. However, at the time, I didn't know that. And if I didn't know that as a pro player, these kids definitely do not know that. So my advice is to get on playing with the ball instead. And how you can do that is by doing the catch drill. This drill would teach their top hand to get on plane and take the barrel to the baseball, because that's what we want, right? We want to control the barrel. That's how we're going to drive the baseball. The third big mistake I see with a lot of young hitters is that they hit closed off. What this tends to do is force them to do either two things. The first thing is dive towards the plate, which ends up cutting off their swing and making them look very unathletic and can stifle their power. And I know you guys don't want that. I remember everyone told me to hit the ball to the opposite field, so I started pushing the baseball to the opposite field. And how I did that was by diving towards home plate and just slapping it over to the opposite field. A lot of singles, no doubles. And you know, we want to hit the ball to the opposite field, but we want to drive the baseball over there and not push it. And a lot of young hitters are doing that. They're just, you know, diving over there and pushing the ball to the opposite field. The other thing that happens, which I believe would happen majority of the time, is they step out. Since they're closed off, their first move is to step out, and this forces them to open up and go away from the baseball. In my last video, I said, I don't mind if they step out a little, but not too much. However, when they are in this position, they tend to step out a lot. To fix this, what I usually do is put them in guards. For example, I get 2 bats and I put one in front of their feet and one in back of their feet. This will help them to focus on stepping straight forward because they would be guarded. And I also give them homework. The homework is 30 dry swings a day where they visualize a pitch coming into them and they step towards the pitcher to just crush the baseball. This gives them that muscle memory and fixes that issue of stepping out, and it's something I highly recommend. So definitely do dry hacks if you can. The fourth thing I see is with a lot of young hitters that they move too fast. And what I mean is that they move 100 miles per hour when they're practicing. See, when a pro player practices off a tee, he works slow, very, very slow. Especially if he is learning a new skill, and many of you young players are learning the skills for the first time, so you want to be slow when you practice off a tee and or BP. I know because I used to do the same thing. When I was younger, I was very fast with my motions, going 0 to 100 miles per hour. This was good when someone threw hard, but if they threw soft, I struggled, and I had to learn to dial it down. And when I was successful, I didn't know what I was doing, and it got even worse when I got older because pitchers started throwing curveballs and sliders, and I was still moving at 100 miles per hour, and we don't want to do that. So the reason why you want to move slow, because you want to learn what your body needs to do to get the result you want. But if you're going very fast, you're not understanding what your body is doing and missing out on the why and missing the whole point. And if you're wondering what it would look like in the game, well, you'll speed up to the game naturally. So it's better to work out very slow in practice and to learn what your body is doing, and then you will naturally speed up in the game. You don't want to work fast in practice and be even faster in the game. The last thing I see with a lot of young hitters is a huge problem. I believe it tends to create a lot of the issues presented in this video, and that is timing. If your timing is off, this can make your swing choppy, and it could be the cause of why you're rolling over the baseball and stifling your power, also why you are inconsistent and why you're moving fast, and so many other things. So to get your timing, my advice is to use UCLA. It's a method I learned when I was at UCLA, and it really helped me when I played, and now it's really helping my students get results across the country. And if you're wanting to know the UCLA method because you're struggling with your timing, which I believe causes majority of the problems I listed before for youth baseball players, and one of the biggest mistakes that players struggle with, I made a full video right here that goes into depth into it. And if you learn this method, it would really get you on track quickly and push you ahead of the curve. And if you don't learn it, you will never reach your full potential. So go ahead, click that video, and I'll see you in the next video.